I'm Orla Hogan and I'm from Tumgrany and we're beef and sheep farmers here. My parents were publicans, but they didn't buy a pub until I was about 17 or 18, I'd say. So really and truly, I didn't really have the publican life. I would have left home soon after that. My grandfather was a cattle dealer. He was very well known, Martin Owens from Whitegate. And that meant nothing to me until now. So I would have had a small experience with farming. We would have stayed down there at the weekends, myself and my three sisters. In particular, I suppose, with sheep, we'd have fed them bottles, and I remember eating the frisk out of the bag in the back kitchen. But I never ever thought I would be full-time farming, ever. In 2005, I was expecting our second child, and I left that job because of childcare costs, and it was getting busier here. So I felt I was needed at home. I would have known very little. I would have started maybe mixing the milk for the calves here in the kitchen. We used to mix it here in the early days when we had 10 calves. And maybe Ross would be gone on the truck and he'd ring me and say, there was a calf there that looked a bit off this morning, will you go down? So I'd go down and check the temperature, and sometimes the temperature would be high. Then I'd ring the vet. And basically, that is how I got into it. I self-learned, and to be fair to Rasa, he gave me the scope to do that. He always said, go on and do it, or, I suppose he had to, but it just worked out that way. I actually feel like I know what I want to do now,
Which is?
Farming. Yeah, I love it. It's my passion now, I have to say. Yeah. And I think I'm actually good at it, so, yeah. Well, Ross's mother would have always encouraged me to do it. There was never a question of what's she doing out there or what. She always praised me, and she always encouraged me to get on with it. And she always took interest in what I was doing and asked me every day how I was getting on, and even rang me this morning, and to make sure I was okay and all that. So, I have three sisters. They've always encouraged me. My mother is a great example to me. I'm very lucky with the women I have around me. I'll show you this tractor here. My son is after doing it up. He's doing transition year in school. He's after stripping this 270 leyland and absolutely making a fabulous job of it, I think. It was actually naked, it was just the chassis that was there. He's just stripped it all back and built it all up, sanded it all, sprayed it all himself. And the only thing he got someone to do was put the glass back in the doors and that. Everything else he did himself. His uncle Dara would have mentored him and helped him with it. He's good at all that stuff, So,
are you proud of him, Orla?
Proud as punch. Yeah, very proud of him. Yeah. If I wasn't, I'd want my head checked, wouldn't I? We have a contracted business, so we do baling and we do a bit of slurry, we do hedge cutting. We bought a new hedge cutter last year. It's something that I love in May and I hate in October, to be honest. In my role in it, I am the mediator. I try and stop the arguments. I bring the tea to the fields. I bring the plastic around. I go shopping for plastic. It's unhealthy at the end. I'm sure young lads then drinking cans of Monster and all that, and it's not. But that's where I come in. I would follow them around with food and make sure they're okay, and be lecturing them to come home, and there'd be enough bales, and the usual mother stuff. So my sheep enterprise is small, to be fair. We'd have always bought lambs here and fattened them and sold them and that. But in 2018, my uncle gave me 2 ewe lambs. He was sick and he asked me to mind them. And because he gave them to me, I didn't want to get rid of them, so I kept them. And I bred them. So that was the first year, and this year now I have 33 ewes in lamb. So who knows what next year will bring. But I bought a Beltex ram this year, and you can see the lambs they're lovely. I'm delighted with them. I do think, and I don't want to knock men because men are great too, but I think that women are great for lambing and calving cows, and I think a great job for women is rearing calves as well. Great maternal instincts, and I suppose our attention to detail might be a bit better. Look, when you have livestock, you have dead stock, and unfortunately, but something that would play on my mind a big time is when cattle, if anything, passed away here. But I suppose the first thing that would have died that I would have been minding myself was a dairy calf that I was bucket feeding. But like that, it's you do everything you can for them, and they still die. That's the way it goes. But at least you know when you've given it 100% or 120% that you've done everything you can. And look, being a woman in farming has its challenges. I suppose most people would mean well in that, but like I went to the mart once and sold sheep, and they actually rang Rasa while I was there to know if he was happy with the price. Is that okay to say that? Yeah. And like he rang me, he was like, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm at the mart," and he was like, "What's he doing ringing me?" So things like that. Like I remember I was so upset that day. Like these were sheep that I brought into the world. I fed them, I minded them, and I brought them to the mart and sold them, and they rang Rasa to know if he was happy with the price. I don't really balance being a busy mum with farming. I don't. I'm always chasing my tail. I'm always under pressure. But I do the best I can, and that's all you can do any day. You get up and you take one job at a time, and you just try. Yeah, every day is a challenge and a new challenge, and every day you learn something new on the farm. But I try my best every day, and I try and do what's right by me and not by anyone else. So we're going to head on up now to the out farm that we rented. And feed a few Herefords up there that were fattening. Yeah, growing up I had 3 sisters and no brothers, and our house was always spotless. It was just so clean, and like I struggle with that now. It's the washing, and like the lads would help if you ask, like, but I suppose it's not a natural thing for them to do, to get up and help me. It is completely different, but personality wise then I suppose girls would bang off each other a bit more, whereas boys is more, or my boys anyway, they're very relaxed and cool out, maybe too cool sometimes, but yeah, it is a completely different scenario. So I suppose I couldn't let the day go without mentioning Ross's father. We wouldn't be farming only for him. He bought the land that we're farming. He's missed big time. He passed away last June, and I suppose for me this spring when the first lambs were born, I missed him. He'd be the first person I'd tell that I'd lambs on the ground, and he'd be looking for updates all the time then. How many have you now, and what are you going to do with all the money? And definitely I couldn't let the day pass without mentioning him. He's a huge loss in our lives. Yeah. We've 2 trucks. One is a Tarmacadam truck. My son Tomas drives that. That actually just runs itself. Like, in fairness, Tomas has that to a T. He does his own thing there, and we don't bother him. And Rasa then has the truck and low loader, and he moves all the forestry machines for the Queensha boys, the timber harvesters, forwarders and harvesters. He's gone a lot, like it's mad. He could be gone for a week and then he'd be home for 3 days. You know, it's just, it's very up and down. My role in it, don't really do much, to be honest with you. I just do the invoices and all that kind of stuff, like, you know. I'd say I'm probably the engine of everything, you know. I keep the whole show on the road, to be honest with you, and I just do, like, you know, if the lads want it and they ring me, if Rasa wants it and they ring me, and yeah, I'm the manager. Farming did choose me that way, yeah, and it was a natural progression for me. if I would do it all again. If I could do anything, I'd probably get into farming maybe sooner.